If you're in your 30s or 40s and you're feeling low energy, and maybe you're to the point where you feel like you're about to faint, and you're wondering, well, how do I fix it? Is this something that is really going to be the rest of my life? Well, the answer is it doesn't have to be that way. And I want to walk you through what I've discovered. And, maybe you've gone through the same process that I went through, which is when I first started going through this, I thought that all the problem was in this little butterfly shaped thing right here. And so I was doing all the things that I was being told to do. I was told to eat an iodine-rich food, selenium-rich food, or to take some supplements and, basically go that route. But what happened was that, even if I felt better, it may only last for a couple of weeks, but then I will be back to feeling miserable. And things were just not working out for me. And I was being told that this was just going to be the rest of my life and that I was going to have to take pills for the rest of my life. And again, I did not want to be in that position. And I know a lot of people are told the same thing. So they'll be told, well, you're in your 40s, so you're not going to feel like you're in your 20s. And I'm in my 40s now and I have more energy than I did in my 20s. I have people that are told, like, well, you're a mom. Of course, you're going to be tired. Of course, you're not going to have energy. And I have moms that have gone through this process that I'm about to walk you through, and they have more energy. And so, what is it that I started to look at? Well, what I realized was that I was dealing with things that no matter how much of this I would have done, it just wasn't going to help, right? Things like gas, bloating, constipation, right? If you're going through any of that, you have to understand that that is a gut related issue more than anything else. And the way that I discovered this was I was basically learning about fermentation, which basically taught me about probiotics. But rather than give you an analogy on that, which you may not be able to relate to, what I essentially found was that probiotics live at the root system of our gut very much the same way that they live at the root system of a tree, right? So if we have the soil, we have the root system, and here's the tree, the leaves, and whatever. Probiotics live here at the root system very much the same way that they live in our gut. And so when I made that connection, I started to understand like, okay, they're the ones that take nutrients from the soil and deliver it to the rest of the tree to give it energy. And that's when it clicks. Like these probiotics that live here are the ones that give us our energy. And I was just asking the question, like, how do I make these probiotics healthier? How do I make them grow to the point where they can give me energy? And so I just looked at, well, what helps a tree grow? And it was the same thing that I was doing when I was fermenting stuff in brewing, which was water, right? If you don't give a tree water, it's going to wilt, but you can also overwater it and, create root rot. So finding the right amount of water is crucial, but you also have to make sure that the water has minerals because without minerals, you can't digest food. If you can't digest food, you can't break down protein, for example. Well, your body can't get the amino acids that it needs to grow thick, strong hair, which is why, a lot of people like me, their hair starts to thin out, or, even if you try to like wash your hair, you look down the tub and it looks awful. Well, that's because your body doesn't have the minerals that it needs to properly digest food. The next is you want to make sure that you have the right pH. If the soil doesn't have the right pH, same thing, leaves start to dry out, wilt, and the same thing's going to happen to your body. So this has to be in balance. And then the last one is temperature. If your body doesn't have the right temperature, much like a tree, right? If it's too hot, it dies. If it's too cold, same thing, the leaves dry out and it just doesn't work. Well, that's when I realized, okay, my body temperature was cold. Like my hands were cold all the time. My feet were cold all the time. I was cold in the summer. If they had the AC blasting, I had to wear a jacket. Well, that's because my body temperature wasn't being regulated. And all of these, what that does is that it creates, this is what determines the environment in your gut, which determines the health of the probiotics, which is what gives you energy. And this is exactly what I started to walk people through. And I have to say that I'm not a doctor. This is just something that I went through back in 2013. And after trying all these other diet supplements, protocols, getting expensive labs and all of that, I wanted to do something that was simpler, but again, I didn't really have the background. Um, at least I thought so. But then I started to look at this and I said, okay, well, if I can grow probiotics by brewing beer and fermenting, how can I take those principles and apply that to my gut? And so I looked at this and I realized, well, there's certain things that I do. Okay. And so this process is what I now call my energy blueprint. And my energy blueprint is really nothing more than me observing nature. And I say, okay, well, I need to develop these, skills. First one is hydration. Okay. The second one is sleep, which has a lot to do with a vitamin that we get from the sun. Right now, a lot of people they try to get this in supplement, which is D3, but that's not natural, which is again another reason why a lot of people that get on these supplements end up with either stomach aches or it just makes the environment worse. So a lot of these things are actually making the environment worse, right? So that was like the second skill because I realized that without this isn't going to grow. Probiotics are not going to grow. Without this, the probiotics in your gut are not going to grow. Nourishment is another big one. And the reason for that one is because, again, most people are trying to give their body isolated nutrients like iodine or selenium, but that creates an imbalance because you need about 84 plus, minerals. And so I develop about 7 steps that, keep going from there. We can go into digestion. We can go into balancing pH, fasting, and then cleaning or sanitizing. Right. So these are all the 7 skills that I put together into what I now call my energy blueprint. And so here's what I want to do is I want to share this with you because I have been in this situation. I've been in this position. I've been through this. And what I realized was that there's a lot of people that are being misled into believing that everything has to do with this, when in reality it has more to do with your gut. And so I experimented on myself for about 7 years. And then I kind of had this idea of like, well, can I put something together for people to just try out? If you've tried all kinds of supplements and you feel like you've tried it all and nothing has worked for you, then I want to challenge you to try this because this is different. Again, we're moving away from this and focusing on this. And so what I did was I took the first 3 steps, hydration, improving your sleep and nourishment. And I started to share that with others just to see if they would get the same results that I did. And I want to actually share, a few of these results with you so that you can see that other people have been trying this and they too are experiencing an improvement in their energy levels.
Fatigue. Anybody's watching this video, the only way I can explain fatigue on days that I feel terrible, this is how I feel. My eyes go like this. Do you understand, Jorge, when you have that? Okay, so that was me, like pushing myself because I'm a rehab director therapist, and I come home after working 9, 10 hours, and I've still got at home right now a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old and my husband, and we don't eat pizza every night. I make balanced meals. So I come home and I cook and I clean, and just to have the energy before your program, it was like I would literally almost be in tears by 9 o'clock because I was just so wore out. But then I would lay down, and because my brain was going and the anxiety was going, then here's the insomnia. And I mean, I was at the point of going and getting on an antidepressant, doing something major, something had to give. And so praise the Lord. I mean, it was hydration and vitamin D and better eating.
I just started to feel really sick. I couldn't sleep. I used to work out like crazy. I used to do P90X. I used to do keto, and I was gaining weight, but I didn't understand why, because I was eating, I thought clean, right? I was exercising as much as I thought I needed to. I would fall asleep at work. I would have brain fog. My hair started falling out. My skin started to get dry. I used to get these really terrible, like puffy bags under my eyes. I looked bloated. It was just like, it was the most horrific thing I have ever been through in my life. And every doctor that I went to about 4 different gynecologists. They all told me that it was because you're 40. Oh, it's a you're 40. So, you're not going to feel like you're in your 20s. So, you got to suck it up. And I was like, I knew it wasn't true. I knew that something was wrong. When I found you and I saw all the work that you put into like your blueprint and your videos and your webpage, I can't even tell you how impressed I am, because I'm not kidding when I tell you I have looked at everything. I have looked at Isabella Wentz. I've looked at everything that I could possibly find. I looked at that book, Wheat Belly. I've followed doctors. I don't know. I can't even tell you what's the name of that doctor? I don't know. He's like a medium, the medical medium or something. And there has not been not one person that has been able to give me like a blueprint like you did that actually helps me. They give you like little information here, little information there, and then I don't know, it's just too much. But the way you have it just lined up for us, where to start, because where you have everybody start, that's the most important part, the hydration, getting your gut clean, getting it, to produce good flora, and all the information that you learn from beer brewing. It just blows my mind how you applied that to our gut, because that's exactly what our gut is. It's like a brewing biome in there, where it's just awesome. It really, I am blown away by the information that you have found. And I know you have worked your butt off, because this is a lot. Doctors that have freaking have their doctorate and have been in school for God knows how long do not have this information. Doctors do not know this. They don't know.
So I would say before I was at a point where I was excessively tired. I mean, there were days where I would sleep up to 18 hours, and it wasn't something that I was just like, oh, I need more sleep. It was, I'm going to try to stay up and do this with my kid. And next thing you know, I'm doing the head drop move, and it just was not, it was not fun. It just felt like everything was a blur in a haze, and I was literally sleeping my life by. It was not the way I wanted to be. It was not the way I felt that it should be, even with having medical conditions. It's no way for anyone to live. And then once I started the protocols and the program, I noticed I didn't need to sleep as much. I didn't think that my sleeping was god awful, other than it was excessive. But once I started sleeping less, and once I started having a lot less inflammation, I noticed I was able to start walking around, without having to wear my flip-flops or my orthotic shoes. And I didn't have to sleep with my boot on at night. I wasn't sleeping nearly as many hours, but I was sleeping better. I actually started dreaming and remembering my dreams, and so now I probably sleep on average 7 hours a night. But I have energy to go the entire day. It's actually freaking my coworkers out.
So as you can see, there's other people doing this, and this is just, a couple that I picked out. There's a lot more that you can watch on our website. But for now, I just want to invite you to try this out. Okay. There is no cost to try this out. All you have to do is click on this video. This is going to take you to a registration page. Just enter your name and email. And then on the other side, I'm going to start walking you through this process, right? I'm going to start walking you through how do you do proper hydration? How do you work through improving your sleep and getting the right nourishment so that you can also see for yourself that you can get your energy back. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm working with people, but I work with people, in small groups, and I do it in a live setting over live Zoom call so that you can, ask me questions and we can go back and forth. But I can only work with so many people at a time. And so I have a waiting list. And usually when I open up the doors, these are 90-day cohorts that we host where we walk through the whole process, from start to the point where you have your energy back. No matter if you're in your 40s, no matter if you're a mom, it doesn't matter if you've tried everything else and you have failed, you're going to get energy with this process. And I know that a lot of people promise that. And so what I want to do is I want you to actually get results before you join our program. And so that's why I put together this 5-day energy challenge. Okay, I call it 5-day energy challenge because if you start doing the first three skills, don't even worry about these four over here yet, just focus on these three. I can promise you that you will notice an improvement in your energy. And if you do notice an improvement in your energy, then you're going to be able to make an informed decision to join us for one of our live programs and go through the rest of the skills so that you can reclaim your energy. And again, there is no cost to this. All you have to do is click on this video. It'll take you to a page where you can enter your name and email. And I really hope to see you on the other side. So that is it. And thanks for watching.